Hi, this is a continuation of the categorization lectures. This one is on criteria attribute theory. Um, the readings in the lectures here are going to seem quite strange. In part, that's because of a strange notion that I'll be putting forth. And in part, that's because I'll be going up against something that is so much common sense that it's very hard to get a hold of it. Just so we keep in mind two things. Everything should be all right. One is that I am trying to make the case that racial identity is in effect magic, that they are similar sorts of things. Not that we take race to be magic, although I take it has some properties that would be pretty magical, but that both are conceptual, that we see things in this way. We see race and ethnic identity and culture all around us. But when you try to get down to what exactly these things are, what do they consist of as empirical phenomena, it's thin. It's thin. I'm not saying that there is no race or ethnicity. I believe that race and ethnicity are massively consequential in people's lives, whether you are educated or not, how well you're educated, how much money you'll make, who you marry, who your God is, and in so many ways, race and ethnicity can matter. But the idea that you are a racial identity, that you are a member of this group, being based upon something empirical, is for me thin. The evidence is just thin. That's the case I'm trying to make. So then the second thing to keep in mind is the flip. I believe we make race more than race makes us. Now, it's not true for everybody. And again, it doesn't mean that race doesn't matter. I'm teaching a class on race and ethnicity. I've studied it for quite a while. I think it's consequential. But the Azandi believe in magic, and that makes magic consequential in their lives. When I look at the Azandi, I see the work that they do to keep that belief going. And when I look at us, I see people that do the work to keep the belief in race, ethnicity, and culture going. I'm saying that these things are conceptual. They are matters of the work that people do together, but that the empirical evidence is thin. And so I've got to go a pretty long distance to make that case. Now, in the writings to this point, you've seen me try to make the case initially for biological sex. At the very end of it, you might feel like there's only two types of chromosomal arrangements. I don't think that's the case. I think you believe that all women have greater estrogen levels than all men, who have higher testosterone levels than all women. I don't think that's the case. It may be the case that somewhere in the womb, you're exposed to testosterone or you're not, or you're exposed to estrogen or not. That may well be the case. Wow, a lot hangs on it. I mean, for all the things that are supposed to be differences, your lifespan on the planet, who you're likely to marry, your educational attainment, and whether it's okay for you to be educated, how you'll be treated in so many ways, what your emotional and intellectual life will be assumed to be from the beginning. So many things that all hang on whether or not you were exposed to testosterone or estrogen. At the very least, could we say that we've made a hell of a lot more of biological sex than the actual empirical differences would justify? Okay, still not an easy case to make. It's a lot easier for race. To do that, I need to go through categorization, and so that's what I'm doing. The first theory, criteria attribute theory, is so obvious that I've almost never been able to get students to take notes from it. And then when I see them taking notes, it's like, well, why are you taking notes? You clearly know this. Here's the whole theory. An object is a member of a category if it has the essential features of objects of that category. What makes somebody an X are these features. If an object has these features, it's an X. When I come into a room, If I'm looking for a chair, I look for something that has a chair's features. If an object has the chair's features or a chair's features, then it's a chair, and I proceed to sit down on it. So what are the essential features of a chair? I know, you go to school all this time, you're sitting in these classrooms, and here's the crazy question for the day. What makes a chair a chair? 4 legs, back, seat, wood, plastic. All right. So some of the features are sometimes features. Could be wood, could be plastic, but then again, it could be steel, could be bamboo, it could be Legos. My son makes Lego furniture sometimes. But other things like the legs and the seat and the back, that seems pretty obvious. That's it. That's the whole theory, criterial attribute theory. Now, what I want to do then is start to nail down some of the assumptions of the theory, just to start to break it down a little bit. Let's start off with the obvious. The first is, in order to be a member of the category, you have to have the necessary features of members of that category. So for every category, there have to be necessary features, and an object has to have those features. That's it. Now let's do the second one, which seems close. It is kind of close. Having an object must also have the sufficient features of members of that category. Now, for our purposes, the differences between necessary and sufficient aren't going to matter a great deal. You could see where an element was necessary but not sufficient. So having 4 legs is a necessary condition of being a chair, but it's not a sufficient feature of being a chair. Otherwise, an elephant would be a chair. So just a little bit of the subtlety. Now, let's just keep in mind, what makes an object a member of a category is that it has the necessary and sufficient features of members of that category. What makes an object a member of a category are the object's features. In effect, if we were placing this in responsibility or blame terms, the object's features would be responsible for making it a member of a category. As we come and look at the object, we're just matching features with categories. That's just that simple. So there you go. There's 2 assumptions of criterial attribute theory. I think we'll end up with 6. The necessary features and the sufficient features. Okay?